Thank you. Oh, he's a brave man. I'm surprised when anybody asks me the first time to come, and then everybody's surprised at home when I get asked the second time. Like, really? Whose notes did you use? I'm married to a man, and he can't help it. He was born that way. And he does his best, and I do my best, but y'all, marriage is hard. It's stinking hard. And we have more differences than just being a man and a woman, because that's hard enough. But he was born and raised in the Midwest, and again, he couldn't help it. His mom and daddy decided that for him, and I was born in the South, and I can't help that, because that's where my mom and daddy happened to be. And so if you put two people with different cultures, now we're both American, and we're both actually partially Native American, but he looks like it more than I do. But even with having that genetic link, and even being born in America, and even because we go to church, you would think, well, that's enough to make, surely that's just like lining up the dominoes for success. You would think wrong, because he's a man. And he thinks like a man. And all the men in here are going, of course. And all the women are going, I know. I've been dealing with that my whole marriage. Well, I know that y'all have been talking about the 5 love languages. I understand on Sunday that you were blessed to hear how God uses the 5 love languages. And what is so wonderful about the Word of God is that it illuminates every dark thing. Not that your marriage is a dark thing, but you will have dark places in every relationship, because it's hard. And I wish someone had told me how difficult marriage could be. I thought it's hard to be single, because you get lonely, and things happen in life. And I thought once I got married, the angels were going to line up every morning and sing, ah, and the clouds were going to roll back, and this red royal carpet was just going to roll out for my day, and things were going to be so awesome. It was going to be the Hallelujah chorus, every morning. And that did not happen. Now, maybe your marriage has just flowed from day one, and it's just been a beautiful stream with no rocks and bubbles. But most marriages are like most rivers. And when 2 rivers come together for several miles, it is muddy and yuck. Because as they both come, they may both be mighty fine before they hit each other. But once they come together, it's tumultuous, and it stirs up stuff that's on the bottom of that path. And so you have a little bit of the one river and a little bit of the other river, and it takes a while before it smooths out. I think that's probably why the couple that had been married the longest maybe did the best, because they can read each other's. Don't worry, you'll be able to. His eye will twitch, and you will know exactly what he means. But marriage can be difficult, and it can be wonderful, and it can be both at the same time, depending on what is going on in life. So if you've ever looked at somebody else's marriage and thought, well, yeah, I could be happy if my spouse acted like that. Well, sweet baby, there's probably someone looking at you thinking, yeah, I could be happy if I was married to the one you're married to. And the truth is, you can make yourself happy. Your happiness is not dependent on your companion. And if you put that burden on your companion of making you happy, you've put something on them that God wouldn't require of them. You need to learn to make happy yourself. Because being married is not about the other person making you happy. And it's really not about you making them happy. It's about we will shoulder the hard things of life together. We will walk through the hard times, and we will do it together. And we'll have some joy, and we'll have happy times, and there'll be, moments of bliss and joy. But I will tell you that moments of bliss and joy sometimes are that, moments. And then it's just the everyday DUTY. The hardest word in the English language. Duty. Responsibility. It's not about being the most romantic man on the planet, or being the hottest chick there's ever been. You You can buy all of Victoria's Secret stuff. I mean, they should call it Victoria Has No Secrets, really, is what they should call it. But the truth is, now, I'm going to be real careful because I know some of y'all aren't married yet, and y'all still have grand hopes and delusions. We're going to leave you with those. But the truth is that our world will lie to us about everything. Because the enemy, if he comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, now I better set my timer. Let me find it. I'm old, y'all. It's pitiful. You'll get old and you can't see anymore. Actually, it's good because you'll get wrinkly and he won't be able to tell. And that'll be fine. Okay, we're going to set it for 20 minutes. Well, no, let's set it for 10 and then I can go twice. How about that? If the enemy comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, then you can be sure that every message he gives you, you need to look for the hidden agenda in it. Now, I taught my children this when we would pass by a billboard and would say, what is that really saying? Because it would show two happy, always thin, happy people with coiffed hair. And they're holding their martini glasses or their, beer bottles. And they're having such a good time. What does that sign say, baby? Well, it says, Coors Light is the best. But what does it really say? It really says, would you like to be thin, have fabulous hair? And would you like to have people's face light up with admiration when they see you? And then whatever product they're holding in their hand, that's the real message. The real message is, be like Mike. They were just honest with theirs, You want to jump and hang your tongue out, drink Gatorade. It didn't work, by the way. But the world gives us this message. And to the men it is, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, you find a hot chick. And make sure that she's the one that all of your friends will admire and wish that they had said hot chick. And the truth is that hot chicks become hot mamas. Now, not the same kind of hot. It's, right? She's still hot, it just comes in flashes now. And nobody tells the young fellas this, right? But it's coming. If you both live long enough. And the gentlemen they admire, the great big round cheekbones. And there's magazines devoted to the great big round cheekbones and lots of movies and, face masks that are cut in big V's so everyone can see the nice big round cheekbones. And the truth is that Mother Nature gives you the nice round cheekbones, but Father Time is coming. And they're going to fall. Right around her jawline somewhere. And it will take industrial strength, elastic, and metal clips to hack those cheekbones right back up where they used to be. And if that's all you have going for your relationship, when Father Time comes and takes what Mother Nature gave you, you will be sorely disappointed. And if that's the only reason a man has chosen this woman, he'll just leave and find another one. And so I want to commend you. I see that we have people who've been here a long time. Gentlemen who have stayed with the woman they pledged their life to after she really became a woman. You married a girl, but she's a woman now. Some of you stayed, all of you stayed. You have stayed with this woman after she had children and her belly button stretched out to a new zip code. And you were pretty sure that belly button was never going back where it used to be. And it don't. I am sorry, honey. In fact, I highly recommend that people do not take personal pictures, because your mama might see it someday. Yeah. I mean, like no Polaroids, like nothing on the cloud. I'm not saying it's a sin. I'm just saying it's stupid. You can go to heaven, but you are dumb as a bag of rocks if you let somebody take pictures. Yeah. So, but I do suggest taking a picture of your belly before you have children. You'll thank me later. You will want to remember it. But marriage is difficult, and it has seasons of difficulty, and it has seasons of joy and bliss. And if you will learn to practice the 5 love languages, if you will learn to speak a new language, because you were born with probably an inclination toward one, sometimes a hybrid. So I don't know if y'all remember from Sunday, right? So we have words of affirmation, we have gifts, we have physical touch. Now every woman goes, oh, that's his. But it's not the same thing. And fellas need to learn this too. So here's the deal, is that men are more visually stimulated. So this is, oh, honey. Let me think how to say this. This is why modesty is a gift to all the brothers. Modesty is not a gift to God. He knows what you look like from the day you were born. He sees you in the bathtub. Modesty is not your gift to God. Modesty is your gift to everybody else. Because the woman who chooses to dress modestly helps the brothers out. I mean, these poor guys, y'all, they go to work, and there's women with all their girly goodies hanging out all the time. I mean, you can't even you can't go to a car show without some girl in her whatever's, rolling across the car. I mean, they try to sell hamburgers and toothbrushes, for crying out loud. So these guys all day long are bombarded with sexual images and messages. And when they're around a godly woman, it's a gift. Y'all, it's like a little bit of peace. It's a little break of peace for them. And men are not dirty because they are stimulated with their eyes. God made it that way. So use it to your advantage. That means you keep it from everybody else, but it is a gift for your man. Now, for women, it's hard for us to understand that. Here's the only way I can think to describe it for us. Just imagine that there was an ATM machine that would just spit out free money all day long. And he's not supposed to pick up any of that money, even if nobody can see him, even if nobody knows he does it. He is not supposed to touch that money. He is only supposed to touch the money that you begrudgingly sometimes hand him. Don't begrudge handing that man some money. He's walking past ATMs all day long. I mean, it's like those videos, the drug dealers just throwing out the money. Show me the money. I know there's a poor little girl back there about to die. She's probably not married. Keep your money in your wallet. But the truth is, our world lies to us because it wants to steal one of the most precious things that God made. And one of the most precious things that God made is being able to trust somebody enough to trust them the whole of your life. Not just when you're young and strong. Ladies, not just when he's young and strong and able to, parallel park your car. Fetch and carry all your heavy things. Not just when he's able to get a job and work all day and come home and he is dead dog tired because he'd been working so hard. But there's this sense of accomplishment because he worked hard. But it's also when he can't work anymore. And when his mind and society is telling him, what you worth anyway, buddy? You can't dig a ditch. You can't lay a brick. They don't want you in the accounting firm anymore. Walmart don't even want you as a greeter, bud. What are you worth now? And if you live long enough, every man will get to hear that inner critic. And it is a lie from the enemy, the same one that told him when he was a little boy, you're not worth anything. It's the same thing that told him as a teenager, none of the girls are going to like you. It's the same thing. His whole life maybe he will have to fight, but you'll fight it longest and hardest in your old age. Because there's very few people telling you it's not true. When you're young, your parents tell you how much you matter. When you're at work, you're validated by at least the paycheck sometimes when it comes in. But when you're old, listen, very few voices are validating you when you're old. And that's why, what's your name, baby? Carson, and what's your name? Hannah. So Hannah, baby, when Carson is old, and it's going to happen so fast, like, close your eyes. That is the sound of his skin wrinkling. But it is going to happen so fast. I promise you, I used to be young. You will wake up one morning and say, how did I get to here? I'm not 50. How did I become 50? Old people are 50, and it will be you who is 50 or 70 or 90 if God gives you breath. But he's going to need you his whole life long. He's going to need you when the hoochie mamas are coming after him and telling him, oh, Carson, you're just a good-looking man. Oh, nobody will know, Carson. You can just come home with me. He's going to need you then, and he's going to need to remember your voice saying, Carson, I love you and I respect you, and you're a good man. You're a good daddy. Carson, I believe in you. He's going to need you then. He's going to need you his whole life, but he's really going to need you when he's older and you say, you know what, Carson? You have done a good thing. Look at these kids we've raised. Look at these grandchildren. Carson, there's still something for us to do. Now we're going to get in our wheelchairs and we're going to go on down and have some applesauce. Because, baby, these nurses don't know Jesus. Now put your teeth in, Carson. And it sounds funny, but I'm telling you, it's not funny. It's not funny. Ask anybody who has gotten to the age where they think, why am I even still here? But that's part of God's beautiful plan for a lifelong relationship, because you're going to believe Hannah when she tells you that you're a good man, because she's going to know you best. She's going to live with you longer than your mama did. She's going to live with you longer than your children. Hannah will be the person you will spend most of your life with. So y'all build and build strong and build good, because there's nothing more beautiful than two people in their old age comforting each other, and there is nothing more bitter than two people who look at each other with resentment and contempt because of what they didn't do. Don't be afraid of divorce. Don't even use the word divorce. And if there's somebody here who has been divorced, I want to say, hallelujah, you're here. You're proof that plan B can be awesome, right? But don't even use the word divorce. But divorce is not the thing to be afraid of. Being old and living with regret, that's the thing to be afraid of. And so how do you build a strong marriage? Well, if you will use these 5 love languages, and if you will use them to your advantage, if you will follow the example of Almighty God and how he uses them, and if you will build in your companion this great big love bank and fill it up, then no matter what the world or life brings to you, you will have enough. If your house burns down, if you bury all of your children, if we go to war and we lose everything and are taken captive and hauled off into other countries and live as slaves the rest of our days, you could still have what God wants you to have. Now, we don't think so because we're Americans and we're king, right? But read the Old Testament. Read the New Testament. These people are slaves and they're held under somebody else's rule the whole time. And that proves to us that no matter what is going on around us, it's not about your stuff. It's not even about your freedom. It's about your choice. And hard times are coming, y'all. Hard times are coming, and they're coming quick. And the Bible promises us that it's going to get ugly. I'm hoping it's not in my lifetime. But the signs are pointing to us that we are living closer for sure to the end days than anybody ever has. That's a definite. But you need to determine right now that no matter what comes in sickness, in health, in poverty, or in wealth, it's not always poverty that tanks people. Sometimes it's wealth that tanks a marriage. If you will walk out of here determined this weekend that no matter what lies around the road, no matter what's coming around that next bend, Hannah, I want you to know you can count on me. If your companion could know that you're with them through thick or thin, then regardless of what is coming, you can be what God wants you to be, even in a hard place or a hard time. So if we look at these 5 love languages, first is, let's start with gifts. Now, if gifts are your thing, then you get it already. But if gifts are not your thing, you will misjudge your companion, and you will think that they are greedy and selfish. So if we have, y'all are just easy to pick on because you're not married yet, so I can't possibly say anything that's possibly happened. Hannah and Cody, y'all, Carson, I have the worst thing. I will never forget your face, baby, but you'll be Cody and you know, Carrie and Kevin, who knows? Yeah, that's right. If she is words of affirmation, then when it comes time for him, when it's his birthday, she's going to write him a card that says, "Oh, I am so proud of you. You have done so amazing. You're the best husband there's ever been. When you were born, the angels lined up and sang." She could write him 3 paragraphs of how fabulous he is. But if gifts are his love language, he'll go to bed and go, "She bought a card. She bought a card. It wasn't even a Hallmark card. It was like the Dollar Tree $1.25 card." But if she gives him a gift, if she gives him a thoughtful gift that she went and picked out, he likes, what do you like? What?
Mountain biking.
Why? Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Surfing. We're in Ohio. I just moved. I was in Florida.
Sharks. Oh my, that's a good thing you're here. Are there mountains here? Do you know about concussions and brain trauma? Okay, all right, good helmet. Okay, well, it's okay. The poor boy likes mountain biking. So let's say she goes and gets him a model of the best mountain bike there ever has been. And it's one that he loves and adores, and it's signed, by the best mountain biker in the whole world. And it's a thoughtful gift. And in her card, she signs, "Love you, babe." If words of affirmation are his thing, she's going to go to bed and go, "I bought him the best gift ever." And he's going to go, "She said, thanks, babe." Because the gift doesn't even register for him if gifts are not his thing. And gifts don't have to be expensive, but thoughtful is better. So do you know if gifts are your thing? How many people in here are like, "Oh yeah, gifts make me feel loved"? It's embarrassing, right? Oh, it's me. Hey, it's me and you both. Like, buy me stuff. We are friends forever. It makes me feel selfish too. I wish it wasn't mine because I feel wonky. But honestly, when somebody buys, that old song, "I can be had, but I can't be bought." Well, people who have gifts, people who gifts are their thing, you have to be careful to not manipulate them. Because if you give them gifts, they think you love them. And this is how groomers get little kids. They buy them gifts, and the kids think they care, right? So if gifts are your thing and you're just too embarrassed to raise your hand, or maybe you're not sure, think of a meaningful gift that you got sometime when you were a child. Can anybody remember a meaningful gift? Does anybody remember getting something that just made you feel loved? Barbie house. Oh, there you go, Barbie house, right here. I did it. It was a what? What was your gift?
Optimus Prime.
Oh, okay. My son loves all the Transformers. So someone bought it. Who bought it for you? Your mom. Did she know that you wanted it? Okay, so it wasn't just she just stumbled on the right gift. She knew you wanted it, and she looked. Okay. Okay. If you ever received a gift in your life that made you just feel special, think about how it made you feel. In case you're wondering, like, I wonder which one I am. Think about this. Have you ever received a gift that made you feel special? What would you rather have at work? Would you rather them give you a gift on your 5-year, if you do well? Would you rather them give you, a nice, I don't know, do people wear watches anymore? A nice watch with it engraved on the back, Or would you rather them say over the intercom, Hannah Banana was our top salesman. Hannah Banana sold 82 cartons of Bic pens. And we got 3 letters from our customers saying how wonderful customer service she did, and we just appreciate so much. So I'm not saying what do you desire and you want, because everybody, it's going to make you feel weird, like, ooh, that makes me sound petty if this is my thing. Don't feel that way. You're just trying to right now, just trying to find out which one are you, okay? So what is meaningful to you? Is it when someone appreciates something that you've done? Or is it if they give you a gift and say, I appreciate what you've done and I bought you this? Maybe it's quality time. So quality time, now this is the hardest one for people to give, unless you're poor. If you're poor, it's hard to give gifts. But you can make a gift. You can make a gift. You can make it out of glue and toilet paper if you have to, but you can make a gift. Quality time is, I just want to spend time with you. It doesn't count if you're on your phone. It doesn't count if we're watching March Madness. It doesn't count if we're fishing, and I have to be quiet. Quality time is when you spend time with me, and I get to pick what we're doing. Or you just sit there and nod your head and listen and don't try to fix stuff. Just listen and go, well, okay. How many of you know if you're a quality time person? Okay. I feel sorry for your spouse. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if quality time is not your thing, it feels wasteful. And there's nothing harder for a quality time needer than having a spouse who does not understand what they need. Because if someone tells a gift giver, you've already got 13 of those, why do you need another one? It's not the same as someone saying, I just don't have time for you. So if your person is quality time, I'm going to give you a pro tip right here. You better make place in your schedule for them. And you're going to feel like you are wasting your time because there's not going to be one single thing that you're going to get to check off on your box that y'all got done, okay? It means maybe you're going with her to look at chickens. Maybe you're going to a quilt show and you're just looking at the quilts. Maybe you're going to, I don't know, what do y'all do around here, rodeos? Is Ohio not a rodeo place? I don't know, I'm from Texas, y'all. We do quilt shows, rodeos, I don't know, gun shows. Do y'all, you play Target? You Target shoot? Oh, you go to Target. You go to Target. Okay. The shooting range is okay. I go to Target and I want to shoot myself. No. Okay. Yeah, that can be very loving. Listen, a man, I'm going to say a man because in my case it's a man. I haven't been married to one. And y'all, quality time is not his thing. My husband is the most overeducated and under-obedient husband on the planet because he knows everything, but he's still practicing, So he knows what to do, but it's still hard, and he'll twitch like this and say, like, I'm coming, because he knows he should. But it's really hard. It's hard for him. I pat him on the back. Words of affirmation are his thing. So I go, you're doing fine, Frodo, Quasimodo. You doing fine. Doing a good job, boy. And I take his shock collar off and before we walk in the store. But it is really hard. It's going to be hard. And you have to be willing to say, I will love my person. If you take notes on this one. I will love my person the way that God made them. Not the way that I want them to be. Well, why can't she just want words of affirmation? Those are cheap and easy and fast. And I can say them quick. I can type them. I can just put it in notes. This is what my husband would have done. I could put it in notes, and I could just copy and paste every morning. And I'm telling you, that's what Mr. Efficient would do. Like, I left him with the children one time and went to ladies' conference, and I left it. He loves a list. Oh, he loves a good list. And I left him a list, because all you have to do is feed the children, bathe the children, and put the children in bed. Like, I didn't have high expectations. And so he said, I have to have a note. So I wrote, feed the children, bathe the children, put the children in bed. He's so happy with his note. When I got home, the kids are like, oh, Dad is the best ever. I'm like, really? He goes, yes, we got to eat pizza in the bathtub while Dad read our story. Because he's efficient, y'all. Why in the world should he line up 2 little high chairs and poke food down in those little gullets if he can do it in the bathtub and wash them up quicker? I'm surprised he didn't just hose them off. Because quality time, you ain't getting it. Now, we're laughing about it, but he's going to be here Sunday. Y'all watch how efficient he is. And if you close your eyes and listen, you can hear his inner clock going tick, 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 tick. But he gets a lot done. That man gets more done in one day than some men get done in 7. And I used to resent him for it and think he was a freak of nature. And now I realize he's just a freak because God made him that way. But there are some people who are super producers in life. His whole family is like that. I mean, like, they're all freaks of nature. And I used to judge him harshly because he wasn't made like me. And you know there's only one right way, right? Your way. Brother Kirk, there's only one right way, and that's yours. Until you married Sister Kirk. Because normal is, you know what the definition of normal is? The definition of normal is the family that you grew up in. And so however you were used to doing it. And so however you receive love is the same way that it's easy for you to give love. But most likely it's not your spouse's way. So if quality time is your thing, so if it's Target, a wise man would draw a Target sign on his calendar, and he would put a little happy face beside it. And the happy face is to remind him to smile while he pushes the cart. And here's the trick. You don't even have to really enjoy loving your spouse the way they need to be loved. You can just love them with a good attitude. You don't have to enjoy it. That means I can watch a stupid basketball. I can watch a basketball game without making comments the whole time. Do you know how they play? Do y'all even know what sports are like? Oh, my word. So my husband likes to watch this one sport. And these guys, they stand up on this little triangle thing and then like stand like little ballerinas. And some of them even have a bun, but they don't have the funny skirt. They just stand there, and then another one throws a ball at him as hard as he can. And in fact, the harder and faster you throw the ball, the more they like it. The more money you get paid. And you have to stand there while they throw this ball at you, and the only defense that you have is this little stick, and you have to try to deflect this ball from hitting you and taking your head off with this stick. And then, it's not even over then. As soon as you hit the ball away, you got to run for your life because they can keep throwing that ball at you. Anybody on the whole field can throw that ball at you unless you're on the little triangles. So they have these little, like cities of safety. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 of them. And they're small. They're little. So you got to, they have to teeter on them, and they scratch. Apparently there's lots and lots of fleas out there because there's lots of scratching that goes on while they're there. So these men are literally running for their lives. So they run from one to the next one, and they never know where the ball's coming from because this guy can throw it to that guy, and the whole purpose is just to get you. And then once they finally get home, then he's okay. But he has to get back in line. And he has to wait for his turn again. And I know you think I'm kidding you, but this is for real. And they go for hours. These can go for hours. And so, what's even worse than having to watch one of those is having to watch somebody you love get in line on purpose. And this man that I married likes to play that game. And he's old as dirt, and he still wants to play. Our church has this, they have 2 of the fields on the church grounds. It's probably sacrilegious. But they do, they have the 2, and our church has teams, and they all play, and they throw the balls at each other. I mean, you should go to jail for some of that. I mean, what's worse than having to watch is having to pretend that you like it, because it's not enough. Oh, honey, it's not enough to just watch and go, oh, thank Lord he didn't get hit. You're supposed to clap and cheer for grown men chasing each other with small dodgeballs. And so, do you know how I love my husband? Now, he hadn't clued in on this yet, so y'all don't tell him. I sit there, and honestly, because I didn't grow up around that. I grew up around men who shot things and skinned them and hung them on the wall and, bragged about their big fish and all that. So when I saw grown men playing little boy games, and we're supposed to clap and cheer for it, for a long time I couldn't, because I was lying. I thought I was lying. And then I realized I'm not clapping and cheering because I think it's wonderful. I'm clapping and cheering because he needs to know that I'm glad he didn't get hurt. And so I say, run, baby, run! And I clap for him. And I'm telling you, he thinks he has just won the lottery. And it doesn't matter how many, degrees he's finished. It doesn't matter, what the city of Aurora says about him. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm clapping and cheering because he didn't get hit with the ball, he is a happy man. But do you know how I can make him shrink down to about this size? You are as dumb as a bag of rocks. A grown man running around trying to keep a toe on that little piece of plastic. Baby, I'll buy you a piece of plastic. I'll buy you a big one. Just stay at home. Saturday's the only day we've got together, for the love of God. Do we have to go back so you can chase your friends? Aren't we past this? You can shrink a grown man down to the size of an ant with your words. So you don't have to love what he loves, but you can love him. And you don't have to love Target, but you can push a cart. You do, he does. I'm feeling it. You better roll up your pants legs, because it's getting... If you could change the way you thought about what your spouse needs, and instead of it being dumb and stupid because it's not your thing, you could say, how can I love my darling today? Maybe it means, hey, baby, can I meet you at Target? I mean, if you're getting off easy if that's what it is. How could you go home this week and maybe just have this conversation? In fact, go online and take the little test. Go to the5lovelanguages.com and just take the test to see which one you are. Because if you're one of us and you're not sure which one you are, the test will help you. The scripture tells men, live with your woman according to knowledge. That means it's going to take a while to get to know her. Sweet Ash over here has got a degree in biology or numerology or voodoo something. I don't know. It's chemicals of some kind. She doesn't have this extensive knowledge just because every night she hopped in bed with a book and read a couple pages. She applied herself to knowledge. And she had to read, and she had to reread, and she had to take notes, and then she had to ask questions, and then she would take a test, and if she didn't do good on that test, she would take that test again. And that's what the scripture is calling gentlemen to do. Get a PhD in your wife. Find out what she likes. Find out what she doesn't like. And ladies, the same would be for us. Find something that that man loves and learn to love it for him. You don't have to love it, but you can learn to sit there and get some pom-poms, be the loudest girl at the little mini dodgeball tournament. Clap and cheer for that man. Put a smile on your face. Do you know he doesn't feel like taking the trash can out every Thursday's our night. I don't know what y'all night. Did you know he can take that trash can out with a smile? It stinks. You know, maybe there's diapers in there, maybe something leaked out and it's all in the bottom, you know, but he can do it with a smile. You can go to a dodgeball tournament with a smile. Pin it on your happy face. So, quality time is going to cost you. It's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you big. Now, words of affirmation, you guys getting off easy. Because even if you're, you know, I can't put words together, what am I supposed to say? Look them up. It's fine. If it's a words of affirmation person, you can just read it off a card. They're happy to get it off a card. You can just literally print 31 of them out and keep them in a little file and just cut and paste every day. Just move it over. Sign your name at the bottom. Y'all get it. Y'all get off easy. And it's no excuse to say, well, I'm just not a word person. Well, the internet's full of them, and books are full of them, and the grocery store has cards, for crying out loud. And if you really want points on that, you can go online and just put in a bunch of her favorite things, you know, Target and, I don't know, snakes and cowboy boots and mountain bikes, and somebody will write a song for you. And it'll come in the mail like, when we ride our mountain bikes in our boots, with pet snakes around our necks. I mean, they'll write this fabulous song for you. It's wonderful. Costs you like $30, man, woman. So if words of affirmation are your thing, do you know who you are? My words of affirmation people, does it make you feel good when somebody appreciates something verbally? Okay. Are your people looking at you? Do y'all know who you are? And, oh, you also play mini dodgeball? They do that here? They do. I came just in time. Don't tell my husband. He'll be signing up and wanting to play. So words of affirmation, here's what that looks like. What is your name, honey? This one. Mr. Vanessa. What? Robert. Are you words of affirmation, Robert? Whatever she says. Words of affirmation. Okay, what do you do for a living, Robert? You work for the city, and what do you do? Okay, so here's what that looks like. So when Robert, if I was your mama, I would call you and say, you know, Robert, the reason that this city keeps running is because of faithful people who every day show up and do things that nobody notices. They make sure that the paperwork gets done. They make sure that those elevators get their checks. They make sure that the water department gets its bills paid. They make sure that the traffic lights, when something's going out, they make sure an inspector gets out there. If it wasn't for the men who are crawling through the sewers and the men who are keeping our light poles going and the men who are working in unnoticed places, this whole place would shut down. Thank you, son, for what you do. I want you to know that I appreciate it. If he was my boy, that's what I would tell him. And you should try to tell your people what you appreciate about them anyway, but especially for someone that words of affirmation are what they need. Because God made it that way. Think of your companion. Think of everybody in your life. They have a place in their brain that has one key that fits it, and it's one of these love languages. And that's the only thing that opens that up. And so every time you open it up and put some little treasure in there, are you not doing God's work? Are you not adding something that can keep that person going? Maybe instead of a treasure box, it'd be better to think of it as they need fuel for the fire of inspiration to keep them going. And so you can open that up and shove a little log in there. Okay, so words of affirmation. Now, physical touch, this doesn't mean hugging and kissing and smooching and carrying on. That's entirely different. Most men, do you know, you're not married yet, honey, but you're going to learn that, and it's okay. I wish I had known this before. I didn't know this before. For a man to be at work and to be thinking about smooching and kissing and carrying on, well, for a woman to be at work or at home or in the car, and for her to be thinking about, at 6:30, he's coming home. We could kiss and smooch, hold hands. I could rub my finger across his earlobes. For a woman to have that thought and to be thinking about that all day, the screens have no holes on them. The porch doesn't creak when you walk across it. The children are doing well in school. We haven't, his mama's far away, her mama's far, far away. The planets are just about to come into alignment. For her to just, for no reason, to go, oh, wait, at 6 o'clock, he's coming. For a man to be at work anywhere, you don't even have to be at work. For a man to be anywhere and be thinking those thoughts, all he needs is enough oxygen in the room to keep breathing. Because God made him that way. And God made him that way, and it's a gift to you. Because it'll keep him coming home. Instead of mountain biking all the time. Joining every little mini dodgeball league. It's like, oh no, my wife's home at 6 o'clock, I'm going home. And in fact, you know, you don't, now you're gonna have a little shower and they're gonna give you lots of lovely things. But you know what your grandma had that kept grandpa coming home? They were called night dresses. They were called day dresses. Do y'all remember the day dresses? They were up to here. They had little snaps all the way down. They were made out of cotton. They were ugly. And grandpa came home after working 12, 14 hours, and they had 8 kids in the house, and grandpa was home for dinner. Yes, he was. So it's not just, am I telling the truth? Y'all remember what your grandmama had? You remember her, those day dresses? Oh my, that was not in my approved notes. But the truth is, physical touch, every woman in this is going to go, oh yeah, that's definitely my husband's physical touch. It's not that physical touch. Physical touch is just, it's, think about how you would love on a child, how you would hold a child. One of the saddest things I ever heard was a teenage girl sitting in my office, or my husband's office, talking to me, my mother doesn't love me. And her mom's sitting all the way over on the couch, way over here, and her daughter's hunched down crying. She won't even let me sit by her on the couch at night. She won't put her arm around me. My mother won't hug me. And her mom said, I just don't like to touch people. Her child, this child ends up having to be hospitalized later because of severe issues that this child ended up going through. And after I met the mama, I kind of understand why. This is why she's chasing every boy in town. This is why she's willing to hook up with whoever comes around. Her own mother won't even touch her in a loving way. Physical touch is one of the ways that God gave us to love each other. The closeness. When skin touches skin, it releases endorphins. They say you need about 7 hugs a day. Do you know why most teenage girls are having sex? Because they want to feel close to somebody. If you talk to young women, even college-age girls, it's not about sex for them. I just want to be close to somebody. This is why groomers are able to do what they do. It's because they are tender and love on those people for months before there's ever they start asking for anything in return. Learn to use physical touch in a non-sexual way so that when you do come to give some love, they don't go, "What do you want?" Now that's very hurtful to a person whose love language is physical touch. They come to hug you and you go, "Oh no, I don't have time." Like, "No, we got church in 5 minutes." You know, like, "The children are awake." And they say, I just wanted to, yeah, biggest lie ever told, "I just want to hold you." That's, what? You're laughing because, but the truth is, if your person is physical touch, they need, not they want, they were wired to need non-sexual comfort. When someone is grieving, what do? We comfort them. When someone is in distress, what do? It's instinctive, it's natural to comfort them. And yet sometimes in a marriage, sometimes the only touching that goes on is sexual touching. Now, if you know, that's not, if neither one of you need, physical touch, I guess y'all are fine. Just, decide when you're ready to have children, and then you can schedule some time, I guess. I don't know what people do that don't need physical touch, but most people do need the comfort of touch. In fact, this is a therapy we work with people who have sexual dysfunction. Any kind of sexual issues, is that you say you will go X amount of time with no touching. This is married people. Okay, there will be no touching for X amount of time. This gives them time to just talk. And then it's, okay, there will be touch. Now we will move to touching with, I'm not talking about, like, I'm not saying anybody in my personal church, okay? I'm talking about this is what happens in therapy, okay? I don't want y'all to think I got people in my church that I'm telling them they can't touch each other. But if I did have someone who come, we always refer our people out to a professional. So we take people who don't go to our church. I know that sounds weird, but it's easier if they're talking to a stranger. They'll be more honest. But when someone comes and says, "Hey, we need some help," and they are referred in by a church person. So one of the steps is, first you say there will be no physical contact of any kind for X amount of time, and then that gives them time to just repair. And then, okay, now you'll hold hands. Okay, now we'll hold hands for a little while. And they're building trust with each other again. And then eventually, okay, now you can sit together and they'll put their arms around each other, whatever. And work their way back into being able to trust each other. Because sometimes, especially if there's been infidelity, it's very hard to rebuild trust. Can be done. It can be done, beautifully done, but it takes a while. But everybody needs to know that they can have non-sexual physical touch. Because the day is going to come when your companion is going to need you. You're going to bury a parent someday. You could bury, some of us in this room have buried children. Some of you may have even buried a spouse. And if you can learn now how to be comfortable with, and a lot of y'all been married a long time, so I know y'all already know this, but y'all are young. So get used to being able to be comfortable holding each other in comfort, because you are going to need it. And the last thing that you want, I promise, is to think. The last thing he ever wants, the last thing you ever want, is to think, what do you really want? When someone just really wants to hold your hand. It's a terrible feeling, isn't it? Imagine if you wanted to hug your child, and your child said, "What do you want?" How hurtful that would be. Do you remember when your child first started wanting you to not touch them in public? Remember that? Like, they're 9 and they still think you're wonderful and mommy and daddy's the best, and then they're 11 and they're going, "Can you drop me off a block from school?" Did it hurt? Do you remember how that hurt? Your companion may be hurt that same way if you do not give them loving physical touch. Okay, so words of affirmation. Oh, my clock went off. Are we over time? Okay, so words of affirmation. Acts of service. Oh, Okay, oh, she's getting happy over there. Acts of service, acts of service. Sister Rebecca, do you have a testimony? Something burning on your soul. Okay, acts of service. This is when somebody is your servant, pretty much. This is when somebody does something nice for you. Oh my goodness. So for your birthday, what would be more, if you're wondering, what am I? For your birthday, would you rather have someone come and take your car and detail it for you, clean it all out? Does that sound like, oh, yeah. Anybody like, woo? Or have you ever felt really, really loved because someone came and, I don't know, if your husband vacuumed the floor or cleaned, and they're like, huh? Swept the floor, swept, sweeping, swept. Used a sucky thing on the fibers. Are we have any acts of service people? You love it when somebody, okay, so acts of service is the easy one too, because you can even hire acts of service. You can't hire someone for physical touch. That's against the law everywhere except Nevada. You can buy words of affirmation and just read them off. You know, you can buy acts of service, so you can go on Groupon. And the cleaning services in your area, like the first, if you pay for a month, if you pay for the whole month, they'll give it to you half price, but you only have to use it that 1 month. And then you can go to the next cleaning service. So you could do like Dusty Maids and Merry Maids and, you know, Have a Maid and Rent a Maid. I mean, you could just go through and make a happy companion if acts of service is your person's thing. So acts of service. So if it were my birthday, if I were words of affirmation, then what I would need is for my husband to, maybe even in front of my children, say, you know what, I'm so glad I married your mama. I could have married a normal woman. There were plenty of them. No, I chose this one, and I'm not sorry. I don't regret it. I am so thankful that I'm married to your mother. Your mom is a great, he could do that. Or he could come in and maybe he went to Nothing Bundt Cakes, which are the best cakes in the whole world. And he could say, I bought Nothing Bundt Cakes for your birthday, baby, and a gift card. For every month you can go get one of the little teeny ones because I don't want your backside to get as big as the table. So here's a little one, which would undo all the words of affirmations. But if that was gifts, but if it was acts of service, my husband might, clean the house or take the children away for a while and just let me have my own thoughts for one day. But so words of affirmation, physical touch, which is not mine, by the way. I have 4 kids. I didn't get to drink my coffee hot. I didn't get to eat my food hot. I don't think I got to have just my own skin on me for about 22 years. I have had enough physical touch to last me to the next millennium. But I hear that grandchildren make you feel differently. So words of affirmation, that was not in the notes either. Mercy, I didn't even know I was thinking that. But it's true, it is true. Y'all don't have children for a long time. Life is just over when you have children. They're wonderful and they are life suckers. They just all the money, all the time, all the sleep, they're so great. You're gonna love them. Your parents are probably in the room, aren't they? Like, nobody's happier that y'all are getting married than your parents, I promise you. No, you do love your kids, but like their work, aren't they? Words of affirmation, physical touch, acts of service, quality time. I'm still missing one. And gifts. Oh, we got them all. We got them all. Does anybody want to make up one? Okay. 7 is God's perfect number, so we could go for 2 more. Cheesecake, there you go, mountain bike. Well, so that's either gifts or works, that's one of the two of them. Does anybody in here think that does anybody have any fears, doubts, questions, or unbeliefs? Because your pastor wants to answer any and all of those. But if you will go to the 5lovelanguages.com, it's free, they won't charge you nothing, and just fill that thing out and answer the little questions and get to know yourself and get to know your spouse a little bit better. But knowledge is only as powerful as obedience, because you can know everything, and if you don't do it, it's not going to help you. But if you would put it into practice, by this, and y'all obviously all love each other or you wouldn't be here. But by this time next year, you might have learned how to love each other in a richer, in a deeper, in a more full way. And then you can start working on loving your kids. Finding out what those little jokers' love language is. All right?
Amen. Amen. That was awesome, and that was just part one. I love that. I couldn't help but think, was it Mary Poppins said a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down? It was humorous and it was funny, but that always serves a purpose. I tend to crack a lot of jokes when I'm trying to teach or preach because when you're laughing, you tend to let your defenses down and you'll receive some things that otherwise you might not receive. And so while that was funny, there was so much depth to it that if we will listen and learn it, it's hard to figure out how to love someone if you've only ever seen it one way, because like you said, you start to think, well, that's the only way it works. But it's just not. And there's so much power behind learning these love languages. So we're going to get ready to dismiss and just take a break. Take about 15 minutes. We've got refreshments and some water and some drinks out in the foyer. And then we will come back for session number 2. And we will hear some more from Sister Coltharp. And then we will dismiss for the evening. But let's take a few moments, get up, stretch out, go get some refreshments. And we'll come back in about 15 minutes or so.